Single mom brings daughter to work. Millionaire CEO's shock when he sees her incredible talent. The morning sun spilled into the towering glass building, casting eerie reflections on the polished floors, hinting at secrets waiting to be uncovered. Emily, a single mom dressed in her best but patched blouse, stood nervously at the entrance, gripping her daughter's tiny hand. Little Mia, with messy curls and bright eyes that seemed to hold the universe, looked up at her with innocent curiosity. Today was supposed to be just another day in the corporate jungle, but today was different. Today, Mia was here to show the world her extraordinary gift. As Emily led her daughter through the maze of cubicles, whispers echoed around them. "Who is that?" someone asked, eyes narrowing in disbelief. Another voice joined in. "Is she really bringing her kid to work?" The air hung thick with judgment, but Emily's heart pounded with a mix of fear and pride. The big boss, Mr. Bennett, was known for his cold demeanor and ruthless business strategies. Would he see them as a distraction, or something far more captivating? Then came the first strange element. Mia plucked a piece of paper from her mother's bag, drew a jagged edge under it, and moments later, a breathtaking drawing of the city skyline emerged. It wasn't just impressive, it was unlike anything they had ever seen, bold strokes mixed with delicate details that seemed alive. People paused, mouths agape, mesmerized. The murmurs grew louder. How could a child have such vision? They leaned over their desks, eyes wide. The tension crackled through the office. A little girl was making a statement no one expected. Emily felt pride swell in her chest, a lump that turned into a tight ball of hope. Could her daughter really change their fate? Just seconds before the big reveal, Emily stole a glance around the office. There it was, the unmistakable sign of disbelief on Mr. Bennett's face, his jaw dropping like the lid of a treasure chest. Was this the moment where everything turned? Where her daughter's talent would finally be recognized? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. And then, it happened. Mia's eyes shimmered as she held the masterpiece high, waiting for approval. The silence was deafening. Could Mr. Bennett, the titan of industry, truly appreciate the raw talent that stood before him? Or would the world's harsh reality crush their hopes in an instant? The anticipation grew thick, like smoke from a fire, swirling with possibilities and dreams. They were teetering on the edge of something monumental. What would he say? What would happen next? The suspense hung in the air, heavy and electric, practically begging for resolution. The air shifted as Mr. Bennett finally gathered his wits, shaking his head slightly, as if awakening from a trance. Around them, jaws were still dropped, and Emily felt the tension crack like thunder. Did she dare hope he'd say something, anything, that might change their lives? Where did she learn to do this? Mr. Bennett's voice, though quiet, commanded attention. All eyes turned to him, waiting to see if he would dismiss them or invite them further into this strange new world that Mia had conjured. She just draws, Emily stammered, trying to steady her racing heart. It's a gift. The man's expression hardened. A gift? He scrutinized the artwork again, as if searching for some trick or secret hidden beneath the bold lines and colors. This isn't just doodles. It's remarkable. Mia beamed, lifting the drawing higher, eager for validation. But just as quickly, a dark shadow passed over Mr. Bennett's face. "I need to see more," he said, his tone shifting suddenly. "Bring her to the boardroom. We'll have a meeting." Emily's heart nearly stopped. A boardroom? With the sharks? Could they really be on the verge of something big? Mia's innocent enthusiasm filled the space, but behind Emily's smile lurked fear. The boardroom was where decisions were made. It was the land of cutthroat deals and cold calculations. The thrill of possibility mingled with doubt, but for Mia, this was a chance. And for Emily, a breath of hope. As they walked toward the boardroom, the whispers followed them. "This is a publicity stunt," someone muttered. "Who knows how long they'll last?" Another remarked, skepticism dripping from their words. But Emily pressed forward, squeezing Mia's hand. In that moment, she knew that everything was about to change. The boardroom doors opened, and Emily felt the chill of the shiny glass walls surrounding them, reflecting instant uncertainty. The table gleamed, stretching long and wide, filled with staring eyes executives who seemed ready to dissect her daughter's talent. Mia climbed onto a chair at the far end, her small body dwarfed by the imposing furniture. "Show them what you can do, sweetheart," Emily whispered, hopeful but terrified. With a deep breath, Mia picked up another sheet of paper. Moments later, colors burst forth, the way spring blooms do after a long winter. The room fell into silence again, but this time it buzzed not with doubt, but with awe. She was creating a masterpiece, and as the strokes danced across the paper, Emily could feel energy filling the room. Yet in the corner of her eye, Emily caught movement. A figure leaned against the wall, a tall man in a dark suit, watching with narrowed eyes. Something about him sent a chill down her spine, like an electric charge in the air that warned of impending danger. Who was he? Before she could process it, Mr. Bennett turned to the executives. "We need to discuss investment," his words trailed off as he glanced at the mysterious man. Now, it was a command, and the atmosphere shifted rapidly, darkening like storm clouds. The room, which just moments ago had been filled with hope, began bubbling with contention and uncertainty. Emily's heart raced. What would happen to Mia's gift in the crossfire of corporate ambition? Would they become just another causality in corporate greed? As Mia's sketch continued to unfold, a beautiful floral piece emerging from her tiny hands, Emily felt the weight of her world shifting. Regardless of the outcome in that boardroom, she sensed that a storm was brewing, and the man watching was more than just an observer. He was a harbinger of chaos. The question loomed over them like a sword ready to drop. Would they seize this moment and thrive, or would they be swept away by darker tides? The silence hung heavy in the boardroom, thickening the air until it was almost suffocating. Emily's heart thudded in her chest as she watched Mia, oblivious to the tension, lost in her own little world. The colors flowed from Mia's fingers like a river breaking free, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the current beneath the surface was churning dangerously. Bennett's eyes darted between the sketch and the tall man in the dark suit, whose mere presence shifted the energy in the room, making the executives uneasy. They whispered amongst themselves, casting cautious glances at the stranger. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in, and Emily could swear she could see shadows flickering behind their stoic faces. "Who is he?" she whispered to the person seated next to her, a nervous-looking woman fidgeting with her notebook. The woman didn't respond, her attention glued to the unfolding drama. Mia's artwork began to take shape, the intricate details drawing oohs and ahs from the executives. It was beautiful and vibrant, embodying a sense of freedom that felt foreign amid the corporate tension. Yet, each stroke from Mia's crayon seemed to amplify the stakes. Emily's instinct screamed that Mr. Bennett saw more than just art. He saw potential profit or a tool for exploitation. "Might I remind everyone," Mr. Bennett interjected, his voice authoritative, slicing through the murmurings. "We're here to discuss the future. Mia's talent could be the key to unlocking an entirely different demographic for our brand." Mia paused, looking up at her mother, vulnerability mingling with the innocence in her eyes. Emily gave her an encouraging smile, even as doubt gnawed at her insides. She could sense that the boardroom felt like a breeding ground for greed, and Mia's gift, pure and untainted, was right in the crosshairs. The tension crackled in the air, and Emily's anxiety escalated as the dark-suited man quietly approached. He drifted like smoke, smooth and serpentine, calculating and ominous. He stopped just behind Mr. Bennett, his piercing gaze locked onto Mia, and she instinctively recoiled. Something dark lurked behind those eyes, an intent that felt predatory. "Our competitors won. Take this lying down," the man said coolly, glancing back at the executives. "Get your head in the game, Bennett. This could easily turn from an opportunity into a liability." A chill ran down Emily's spine. Was this man warning them or threatening them? The room grew colder, and the atmosphere intensified as Mr. Bennett's face transformed, caught between ambition and caution. "Mia," feeling the tension, started to draw faster, her crayons a blur of motion. Emily's heart clenched at the sight. Her daughter's talent was blossoming under pressure. Yet Emily felt the weight of that pressure could crush Mia's spirit. Do you think they'll fight over her? Emily murmured to herself, gripping the edge of her chair. What if this is just a way to orchestrate deals at her expense? With a sharp inhale, Emily willed herself to stand tall for Mia. This was her daughter's gift, and no corporate scheme would derail it without a fight. Mr. Bennett, Emily called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. This isn't just business. This is Mia's future, her artistry. We need to protect that. The room froze, the executives glancing at her in surprise. She felt their judgment tracing her every word, and the tall man's gaze turned icy, as if she had just crossed an invisible line. Emily, Mr. Bennett sighed, a mix of concern and irritation etching his features. You need to understand where we are. Decisions are made in this room that can change lives, including Mia's. The weight of his words settled over her like a storm cloud, suffocating and heavy. She glanced at Mia, still blissfully lost in her colorful creation but oblivious to the brewing storm. Could she shield her daughter from a world filled with predators? With sudden clarity, Emily grasped that this moment would define everything. She had to fight, but the question loomed larger than ever. How far was she willing to go to protect Mia's gift? As those thoughts tangled in her mind, the boardroom doors swung open, a cacophony of chaos intruding into the blossoming creativity. The unexpected arrival set off a flurry of murmurs, and every head turned in alarm. Who had come barging in now? Emily felt dread coil around her heart. What if this person brought news that could shatter everything? What hidden truths would emerge now? And would they hold the power to either save them or plunge them deeper into the darkness? The doors swung wide, revealing a man drenched in sweat, his disheveled hair sticking to his forehead. A momentary gasp echoed through the room as the shock of his unexpected entrance rippled among the executives. Was this a messenger of calamity or a herald of hope? I'm sorry, the man stammered, his eyes wild as he scanned the boardroom, finally landing on Emily and Mia. I know it's chaotic, but you have to listen to me. Emily's heart dropped. She didn't know this man, but the desperation etched on his face sent alarm bells ringing in her mind. The tall man in the dark suit shifted slightly, his eyes narrowing at the intruder, as if he might dissolve into the shadows at any moment. Who the hell are you? Mr. Bennett's voice thundered, his composure fracturing as he stood straighter. The tension cranked up another notch, the boardroom practically vibrating with uncertainty. I worked with you, I did some work for the organization last year. The man blurted out, his voice shaky but urgent. There is something going on. Something you all need to know. What could possibly matter in a room like this? The man in the suit replied smoothly, stepping forward as if to swallow the man whole. You're wasting everyone's time. Ignoring him, the intruder took a step closer to Emily and Mia. Please, I don't have much time. Someone is watching. They're looking for her. Mia looked up at her mother, her innocence now disrupted. Emily's chest tightened as she placed her hand firmly on Mia's shoulder, grounding them both. Who could be watching? Her instincts screamed to protect, to shield Mia from whatever ugly truth awaited them. Watching? Emily echoed, her voice low but firm. Who? Others, powerful people, he answered, glancing furtively over his shoulder as if expecting shadows to come alive. They want to exploit her talent. They're not here for anything good. You have to get her out of here. The room fell into an electric silence. Every executive exchanged cautious glances, some shuffling uncomfortably in their seats. The tall man scoffed, but there was a flicker of unease in his eyes now. Was the stranger speaking the truth, or merely a madman on the fringe? Enough, Mr. Bennett shouted, sweeping his hand through the air dramatically. This is a business meeting. If you don't leave, I will have you thrown out. Emily stood between her daughter and the looming threat of powerful men. Did they really care about Mia's art? Or was this all a facade? No. We need to listen to him, she insisted, feeling the weight of everyone's judgment. The man's frantic gaze locked onto hers. You don't understand. They've been watching since she started drawing. They know more about her than you think. A flash of movement caught Emily's eye, a flicker of something from the corner of the room. The dark-suited man's expression twisted into that of a predator cornering its prey. She felt the ground shift on its axis, a revelation that could expose crumbling foundations beneath their lives. "Mia," Emily whispered urgently, leaning down to her daughter. "We might need to leave. Are you ready?" Time hung thick in the air as the realization sank in that this was no longer just a meeting about art. It was a battle for Mia's soul, pitting innocent talent against ruthless ambition. The stakes were a bleeding heart away from collapse. The stranger stepped closer, urgency coursing through every word. "You need to trust me. They'll stop at nothing." In that cacophony of fear and protection, who could they trust? Emily's mind raced. "Let us get out of here," she whispered to Mia, her voice trembling but steadied at a sudden sound shattered the silence, a loud crash from outside the room. The noise was like rolling thunder, sending a tremor through Emily's heart as she turned toward the door. "What was that?" Mr. Bennet yelled, his irritation morphing into panic. The dark-suited man smirked slightly, the corner of his mouth curling while shadows deepened around his eyes. The atmosphere thickened, brimming with impending chaos. As the promise of confrontation loomed, thoughts raced like wildfire. What lay ahead? Would they flee into the unknown, or would the greed and ambition consuming this boardroom consume them too? Just then, the intruder moved closer to Emily, his voice urgent and trembling. "You have no idea who's really behind this. You need to find out before it's too late." His words hung in the air, taut as a bowstring, an unseen threat tightening around them. Would they confront the conspiracy lurking in the shadows, or be ensnared by it? As the disarray continued and the noise crescendoed outside, one chilling thought pierced through. Someone was coming for Mia, and they had to act fast. What secret might unfold if they didn't escape this suffocating room? As Emily's resolve strengthened, the question remained, what was truly at stake for her daughter? Mia's heart raced faster than Emily's thoughts. She could sense the weight of danger hanging in the room. The walls felt like they were closing in, and all those glances exchanged by the executives turned sinister. Mom, Mia's voice trembled. She squeezed her mother's hand. Each beat of Emily's heart felt like a drum, echoing the urgency of the moment. "I want to go home." But if home was safe anymore? Emily swallowed hard. The intruder was right. Every instinct screamed at her to get Mia out. "Mia, listen to me," she said urgently, bending down to meet her daughter's wide eyes. "Stay close to me, okay? We have to be very quiet and move quickly." "Yes," Mia whispered, her trusting gaze fixed on her mother, though fear flickered behind them. With a deep breath, Emily turned back to face the boardroom, scanning the assembly of executives. Mr. Bennet, still looming like a storm cloud, seemed poised to unleash his authority. The tall man in the dark suit stood motionless, watching with a calculating focus that sent chills down her spine. But the stranger, the sweaty intruder, was also there, fervent in his panic, and she could feel his urgency radiate like heat from a fire. "We need to open that door," she muttered more to herself than anyone else, her mind racing. If they could just slip past the chaos outside, maybe they could find safety. Maybe they could escape the web tightening around them. Just then, the door burst open. A security team stormed in, uniforms crisp and commanding. Their eyes darted around the room. Voices rose sharply as they began asking questions, demanding clarity amid the chaos. "Mia?" Emily thrust herself protectively in front of her daughter as a tall officer scanned the boardroom. "You can't take her. Stay back." Their advances were cautious at first, but the looming dark-suited man stepped forward, his voice oily with authority. "We have it under control, just a misunderstanding. You can't disrupt business any further. This is private property." "Private?" Emily said, her voice tight. "You mean to say it's private while you put my daughter at risk?" They didn't even flinch. The uniformed officers exchanged knowing looks, everyone aware of something dark glimmering just beneath the surface. "Do you know the kind of talent she has?" The stranger interjected, his voice steadily rising over the growing tension. "You're blind if you think." Before he could finish, a piercing scream erupted outside the boardroom, slicing through the chatter. An explosion of chaos crashed back into the room as several people darted backward. The tall officer steadied himself, firearm drawn, positioning himself like a barrier between the boardroom and whatever lurked beyond. "Get down," someone shouted. Emily instinctively shielded Mia, lowering them both to the floor, the chaos swirling around them like a storm. Mr. Bennett's face distorted with fury, his voice booming across the room, yet it was swallowed by the noise of panic erupting. Heart pounding, Emily dared to glance up. Figures began rushing through the chaos, some wearing dark hoodies, weaving between the frightened executives. Were they the very people waiting to exploit Mia's gift? Mia, we need to move, now? Emily hissed, locking eyes with her daughter, who nodded in terrified compliance. Where? Mia whispered, her voice shaking as she scanned the room. Anywhere but here, Emily replied, seizing the brief moment of distraction. It was now or never. With a sudden surge of resolve, she pulled Mia up, grasping her hand tightly. They needed a way out, but the door blocked by chaos seemed to grow heavier by the second. Follow me, the stranger shouted over the noise, his frantic energy folding into determination. Without a second thought, Emily took her daughter's hand and moved. They were all pushing toward the door, going against the tide of chaos. But who could they trust? As they stepped into the fray just beyond the boardroom, a figure loomed like a dark shadow against the blinding light. A chill crept down Emily's spine. Was this the beginning of their escape, or the point of no return? Noise swelled, uncertainty clouded the air, but one thing was sure. They would not leave her behind. They had to uncover the truth before it consumed them all. And then, from the chaos, emerged a shocking realization. Stay close, Mia, Emily shouted. But then everything crashed to silence as the figure stepped forward. Who or what awaited them in the heart of the storm? Emily's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped into view. The light spilled over the silhouette, revealing a young woman with sharp features and striking blue eyes that flickered with intensity. She looked unfazed by the commotion, her expression mingling curiosity and a hint of disdain. Carly, Emily whispered. Mia's mom, right? Carly said, her voice cutting through the chaos like a hot knife through butter. You need to get her out of here. It's not safe. Emily's chest tightened. What do you know? More than you think. Carly scanned the room, assessing the panic playing out around them. Mr. Bennett has been playing a dangerous game, and that game is about to spiral out of control. An explosion rattled the walls, the whole floor shook, and the lights flickered ominously. Mia pressed close to Emily, seeking solace in the connection. Mom, what is happening? Just stay close, Emily murmured, casting a worried glance at Carly. We have to move. Carly nodded. The back stairwell. Trust me. With urgency now fueling the moment, Emily led Mia forward, dodging frayed edges of panic still rushing through the room. Figures in dark clothing surged around them, but Carly stepped boldly through the chaos, unbothered. Emily clung to the sense of safety that radiated from her, though unseen threads of doubt wove into her mind. They dashed toward the far side of the room, where a door loomed, an escape route they desperately needed. Go, Carly barked, nudging them forward just as distant shouts reverberated through the hall. Mia squeezed Emily's hand tightly, her tiny fingers cold against her mother's skin, and they pushed through the door. The staircase beyond felt like an unwelcoming mouth, leading them deeper into the heart of the building. Just as they started down, a figure barreled in front of them. It was another security officer, brow furrowed, face drenched in sweat. Stop. You can't go this way. Don't you understand? Carly spat. It's a trap. Mia, get behind me, Emily shouted, instinctively shielding her daughter. The officer hesitated, fear flickering in his eyes as he read their expressions. Ma'am, you have to return. This is a crisis situation, he said, panic breaking his authoritative demeanor. We're in crisis, right here, Emily exclaimed, her heart thundering as everything flooded over her like a wave. We have to get out before they come for her. But the officer's resolve hardened, a steel wall appearing between them and freedom. I can't let you through without confirmation. Before Emily could retort, another blast rang out, louder and sharper than the last. This time, the walls felt like they were closing in on them, tightening around her chest. The officer's eyes widened, and he stumbled backward. Carly seized the moment. Run, she yelled, her voice cutting through the shadows. Without hesitation, Emily tugged Mia away, racing down the stairs, each step echoing the urgency thrumming in her veins. As they descended, echoes of fear bounced back, voices shouting, the sounds of chaos exploding just beyond their reach. Emily gripped Mia's hand tighter. Every pulse of adrenaline rushing through her body demanded they press on. They burst through the staircase door and found themselves in a dimly lit hallway. Emily's throat was dry, panic clawing up her spine. "Which way?" she gasped, scanning for escape routes. Carly glanced around, her blue eyes blazing with resolve. "This way, there's a service exit at the end." Emily nodded, and they sprinted down the corridor. Uncertainty prickled on her skin. Were they running towards safety or into the jaws of something worse? The pounding in her heart pushed her forward. But just before they reached the double doors, an ear-splitting crash reverberated behind them, followed by a low, ominous chuckle. Time slowed as dread seeped into Emily's bones. She turned, and the sight that met her eyes made her blood run cold. The dark figure, wearing a twisted smile, emerged from the shadows, eyes glinting with malevolence, ready to strike. And in that moment, the haunting truth crystallized in Emily's mind. They were not just trying to escape, they were being hunted. "Run!" she screamed, terror tightening her voice. But as they rushed toward the exit, she knew they were far from safe, or were they even truly prepared for what lay ahead? Emily's pulse thundered in her ears as she raced toward the double doors. The dark figure loomed closer, an embodiment of everything that threatened her world. The chuckle echoed, crawling under her skin, sending shivers down her spine. "Don't look back!" Carly shouted, her voice slicing through Emily's panic. They flung themselves forward, bodies colliding with the heavy door just as the figure lunged. The impact sent them crashing through, spilling into the outside corridor like a burst dam. The air flooded in, crisp and cool, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just left behind. But there was no time to breathe. Emily stumbled but caught herself, pulling Mia along with her. "Keep running," she urged. They dashed down the corridor, the distant sound of destruction echoing in their ears, ready to swallow them whole if they paused for even a second. "Where are we going?" Mia's small voice trembled beside her. "Just stay close." Emily gritted through clenched teeth, shifting her gaze frantically from side to side. The giant windows lining the corridor gave a clear view of the parking garage beyond, a sanctuary of freedom, if they could only reach it. Just ahead, she saw the service exit, illuminated by flickering emergency lights. Hope ignited within her like a match struck against the dark. But as they sprinted toward the exit, a loud bang echoed behind them, followed by a cascade of debris that crashed down, blocking their path. "No!" Emily gasped, her chest tightening. Panic surged again, threatening to pull her under. "What do we do?" She darted her eyes around, searching for any other route. "Back this way." Carly grabbed Emily's arm, her grip fierce enough to pull her slightly off balance, but steady enough to keep them moving. There's another stairwell at the far end. They redirected, swerving away from fate's clutches, Mia clinging desperately to Emily's hand. The atmosphere felt thick with dread, the shadows closing in around them as they barreled down the corridor. Just past where the hall dipped into darkness, they spotted a yawning doorway with a flickering red exit sign. "Almost there," Carly urged, pushing them forward. But as they raced for the door, another explosion sounded, shaking the very core of the structure. The lights flashed, and the cold cement beneath their feet vibrated. Emily shielded Mia, instinctively positioning her body to block the fallout. The screaming woman behind them, a colleague of Carly's, sent shards of fear deep into Emily's heart. She could feel time stretching, moments swapping places between action and terror, the universe holding its breath. Carly shot a glance back. "We need to go? Now." Her voice was urgency personified, pulling them from the brink. They reached the door, and Emily pressed her palm against the cold metal, shoving it open as they ducked inside the stairwell, plunging into darkness. "Which way?" Emily gasped, her air shallow, thoughts blurring in frantic confusion. "Up!" Carly shouted, racing up the steps. "We've got to get to the roof. It's our only chance." "Why?" Mia queried, her voice barely above a whisper, fear palpable. "Because that's where they want to expect us." The conviction in Carly's voice fueled their flight like an unquenchable fire. They climbed, but as they ascended, a chilling realization set in. What if there was nowhere left to escape to? The sounds of the chaos below grew louder, a cacophony of fear that threatened to drown them. Anxiety clawed at Emily's chest. Just as they reached the final landing, their breaths coming in ragged gasps, they were met with a terrifying sight. The roof door stood ajar, shadows dancing just beyond it, whispering possibilities that made Emily's heart flop in her chest. "Carly, what if it's a trap?" she whispered. Carly spun to face her, determination etched on her face. "We can't stop now. We have to know." With that, they pushed through the door, ready to confront whatever lay beyond. But there, silhouetted against the moonlight, stood the dark figure the chase was far from over. Emily's heart plummeted as their eyes met. "What now?" she muttered, fear prickling at her fingertips. And behind them, a loud crash shook the building once more, like a harbinger of doom, echoing solidly in the dark. None of them knew the answer. Emily's mind raced like the wind howling around them. The dark figure stood motionless, a shadow against the flashing lights of the city beyond. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but the icy grip of fear held her in place. Mia squeezed her hand tightly, eyes wide, uncertainty clouding her innocence. Carly pushed forward, unwilling to let the moment paralyze them. "We can't stay here," she yelled, urgency lining her tone. In that instant, the figure moved. It stepped into the light, revealing a face filled with a chilling familiarity. Emily's breath caught. "No, it can't be," she gasped. "Is it him?" Carly's words felt heavy. The figure grinned, a twisted smile that sent shivers racing down Emily's spine. "Hello, Emily. Long time no see," he said, his voice silky yet edged with malice. "Get away from us," Emily shrieked, pushing Mia behind her. Every instinct screamed to protect the little girl who now felt like the last tether to her old life, the one without nightmares and shadows. "Oh, come now. We both know you're not going to hurt me," he taunted, stepping closer. The shadows seemed to bend towards him, as if they were his allies. Carly grabbed Emily's shoulder. "What do we do?" Panic seeped into her voice. "Run," Emily screamed, shoving Mia ahead of her. "Go." They sprinted towards the edge of the roof. The night air stung Emily's face, but adrenaline surged through her veins as she pushed past the rising tide of fear. They reached the roof's edge, looking down at the abyss below. "Wait, we can go down this way." Carly pointed to an old fire escape still hanging onto the building, rusted but seemingly intact. It was their lifeline. "No way. It's too dangerous," Emily shouted back, but the deranged laughter from the figure behind them froze her blood. "You want to escape me again?" he barked, advancing with a purposeful stride. "You're not going to take us." Emily felt a fire ignite within her. She clutched Mia's hand tightly, her voice rising above the cacophony of fear surging in her chest. "Carly, let us go." They lunged for the fire escape. Metal clanged painfully as they scrambled onto the shaky ladder. Each step down felt perilous, the rungs creaking underfoot. Emily's heart hammered a frantic rhythm as she swung her leg through the opening, pulling Mia along. But just as they cleared the roof's edge, a loud crash reverberated above them. Debris rained down, glittering like confetti, heavy with threat. Emily risked a glance back, her stomach dropping at the sight of the figure standing triumphantly atop the roof, smoke swirling around him like a dark halo. "Run." Carly's voice shook with fear, yanking Emily back to reality. They hurried down, the narrow escape route growing darker. Each creak of metal felt like a taunt whispered from fate. "What if he follows us?" Mia whimpered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I won't let that happen," Emily promised, but doubt tugged at her confidence. They landed softly on the ground, crouched in an alley's shadows, hearts pounding. They huddled together, panting in the darkness, the air thick with adrenaline and fear. The muffled sounds of chaos still lingered, a cruel reminder of their vulnerability. "What now?" Carly whispered, her eyes darting back toward the building, where lights flickered ominously. Emily's mind raced. They couldn't stay here, yet deep inside, an awful feeling surged. The darkness wouldn't let go that easily. "We need a plan, but we need to be quick." Suddenly, a sound pierced through the fear, a low growl followed by a scrabbling echo. "Did you hear that?" Mia motioned, her eyes wide as saucers, before Emily could respond. Another crash echoed, and shadows danced closer. They had only managed to escape the nightmare, but it seemed the worst was yet to come. "What I asked that?" Carly urged, panic spilling into her voice. Ahead, a new terror awaited. With her heart racing, Emily knew they had to face it head-on. But could they? The darkness around them stirred, and the alley seemed to close in as the growls grew louder, more menacing. Once again, they stood on the brink of choice, the kind that could change everything. Would they find safety, or would this nightmare consume them whole? Every moment felt charged, and Emily could sense their fragile fate teetering like a precarious balance on the edge. "Run!" she yelled again, but into what? The unknown twisted ahead. A frightening shadow filled with dread. Real danger lurked just beyond view. What lay in the depths of that darkness? And were they truly ready to confront it? Panic surged through Emily like a raging storm. Just ahead, the dark alley seemed to pulse, alive with the growling sounds that echoed off the brick walls, vibrating the very ground beneath their feet. "Stay close," she hissed, pulling Mia tighter against her. They shuffled backwards, retreating into their own shadows, hearts racing in unison. Carly was frozen behind them, eyes scanning the darkness, searching for the source of their fear. Then it came. A shape slipped from the gloom, slinking toward them, low and predatory. Emily held her breath, forcing herself not to scream. Whatever it was big, moving with a fluidity that sent shivers racing along her spine. "What is that?" Carly whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't know," Emily replied, her heart thundering. She was terrified, full of raw dread, yet her protective instincts surged. "But we need to back up now." As the figure emerged from the darkness, Emily's stomach twisted. It was just as familiar as the man they had escaped, but this time it was an enormous dog, its fur dark as midnight and eyes glinting with unnatural intelligence. The growls morphed into a deep, guttural bark, and Emily could see its teeth, sharp and gleaming under the flickering streetlight. "Should we fight it?" Carly's voice quivered with fear, but a spark of desperation fueled Emily's response. "There's no way we take it on. We have to find another way out," she insisted, adrenaline washing over her like ice-watered as the beast lunged forward. Emily yanked Mia away, her own body sprinting in a half-arc, frantic to shield the girl. Without thinking, she dashed down a narrow side path, dragging Mia along, and Carly sprinted right behind them. Behind them, the dog gave chase, its barks echoing in the confined space, each echo vibrating like a ticking clock, pushing them faster and faster. The alley twisted and turned, creating a maze of shadows and terror. "Don't stop," Emily urged, almost breathless. They rounded a corner, and the light from a distant street lamp spilled into the passage. For a moment, Emily felt a flicker of hope, but as they emerged, the landscape shifted, the darkened street revealing a desolate parking lot choked with weeds. Ahead, a large dumpster loomed with its lid slightly askew, an apparent refuge. "Over there," Emily cried, her voice slicing through the panic. They dove behind the dumpster just as the beast skidded into the lot, growling and sniffing in pursuit. Emily held her breath, crouching low, while Mia clung to her, both trembling. Carly peeked around the edge, her face pale. "It's not leaving," she whispered. "We can't stay here," Emily replied, scanning for another exit. Nightmarish thoughts twisted in her head. Was this it? Cornered like prey? But just then, she spotted something, a faint glimmer of movement in the shadows at the back of the lot. Someone was there. Emily squinted, straining to see through the darkness. "Someone else behind that car," she whispered urgently. "Who?" Carly asked, panic shading her voice. Suddenly, the figure moved closer, revealing itself as a man, dressed in a dark coat, with a wild look in his eyes. "You girls shouldn't be here," he shouted, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "What?" Carly blinked, confusion mingling with fear. The dog stopped, sensing something about the man. Growling, it stalked backward, eyes tearing away from the girls to focus on the new threat. Emily's heart raced. Who was this man? Was he a friend or another danger among the chaos? "Come with me," the stranger yelled, pointing to an exit at the far end of the lot. Emily hesitated, fear gripping her chest. "But what about that thing?" "I'll handle it," he shouted back, a crazed energy flickering beneath the surface. The growl intensified, and Emily felt her footing slipping as moments stretched into agonizing eternity. She glanced at Mia, whose wide eyes mirrored the tumult of Emily's heart. "Trust me," she whispered, her voice barely a murmur but filled with fierce intention. Could they place their faith in a stranger amid a life-or-death situation? The alley seemed to whisper dire warnings, thick with malevolence, yet hope flickered in Emily's chest. "All right, on three," Emily breathed, adrenaline pumping. What awaited them beyond this moment? Would they find their way to safety, or would this be where everything fell apart? 3. And with a single leap, everything hung in the balance. Emily's heart thundered in her chest as she surged forward, pulling Mia along with her, trusting that the wild-eyed stranger knew the way. The growling dog stood poised to chase, feeling the shift in the air, and behind them, the chaos of the world seemed to dissolve into a distant memory. Everything felt magnified, the cold biting into their skin, the thrum of their pulse in their ears, and the overwhelming urge to survive. They darted toward the far end of the parking lot, the dim glow of light barely illuminating their path through the darkness. Emily caught a brief glimpse of the man as he positioned himself defiantly between them and the impending threat. "Go," he shouted, his voice a clarion call cutting through their fear. Mia stumbled slightly, but Emily steadied her with a firm grip. "Keep moving," she urged. The world narrowed around them as adrenaline kicked into high gear. Escape was within reach, but would they find safety on the other side? Just as they neared the exit, the dark figure lurking in the shadows unleashed a primal bark that sent shockwaves of fear rippling through Emily. The growl was deep, menacing, and echoed like a warning bell, an undeniable testament to the danger that trailed them. Emily glanced back, her breath hitching in her throat, but they couldn't falter now. A fierce roar erupted from the man, a voice dripping with authority, as he clashed with the beast, their silhouettes dancing in the shadows. Emily's instincts urged her forward, but something tethered her gaze momentarily. Should she intervene? The spine-tingling thought sent a jolt through her, but Mia needed her. "Mom." Mia's small voice, punctuated with desperation, broke through the noise. Emily's heart cracked slightly. She could see the frightened look in her daughter's eyes. "Let us go." Emily's urgency propelled them forward, but she couldn't shake the fear of abandoning the stranger. With one final push, they crossed the threshold into the light, the parking lot beyond opening up to a road framed by trees that seemed to promise sanctuary. There, beneath a temporary refuge, the weight of battle raged on behind them. She could feel the darkness pressing against them, clamoring for the moment of vulnerability to snatch them back into its grasp. But then, in the shimmering distance, a reflecting light beckoned like a lighthouse guiding them to safety. Car headlights flickered on the horizon, and it was enough of a promise to shove down the nagging doubt that threatened to overtake her. "We can find a way home," Emily urged, trying to steady her voice as they moved farther away from the conflict. "And Mommy, what if the bad man finds us?" Mia's trembling voice gripped Emily's heart like a vice. "He won't." Emily spoke without thinking, resolving to create a shield around her daughter, one that could withstand the hail of hurt and fear. "We'll get through this. I won't let anyone take you away from me." They sprinted down the road, the brightness growing closer, illuminating their escape route, each step resonating with determination. They could do this. They had come this far. Just as they approached the edge of the lot, Emily dared to look back only to find the man battling the beast, fighting fiercely for their freedom. But would it be enough? Time shifted resumes, feeling like bits of sand slipping through her fingers. The man's wild gestures and the dog's furious snapping at him blinded her momentarily. But she knew she couldn't linger, not when Mia needed her. "Mia," she said firmly, "we can't stop. We need to keep running as far as we can." The warmth of determination spread through Emily despite the circumstances, and her legs moved almost on their own. Behind them, a horrific clash echoed, a powerful roar and a sudden silence. The darkness felt alive, roiling beneath the surface, but they couldn't turn back. Not now. Not ever. The moment they hesitated, the shadow would absorb them. They burst through the trees, the cool night air biting at their faces, and as they followed the path ahead, they kept moving toward hope. It was no longer about what was behind. They had to focus on the future and what awaited them on the other side of fear. The distant glow intensified. There was a community ahead, a place where people congregated. The thrum of life pulsed strongly, reassuring them that safety wasn't just a fading dream. Look, there, Emily pointed as they drew closer. Bright lights lined the street, and the faint sounds of laughter carried through the air, filling the void of dread. Just when Emily thought the worst was behind them, a scream shattered the air from the direction they had come. The dog thrashed against the man, anger and desperation burning fiercely, but they couldn't look back. The urgency was too great. Mia, let us fast walk, then a run. As they hastened toward the warmth and safety of the lights, her heart a mix of fear and solace, Emily felt the tension relax in her chest. They would face whatever came next together. But deep inside, the knowledge remained darkness isn't easily dismissed, it lingers. In that moment, Emily vowed they would fight, together, an unbreakable bond fueled by love and bravery, no matter what battles awaited them in this world. Arriving at the first bright storefront, she felt relief wash over her. They had made it out of the shadows and into the light. Rushing through the door, she glared back one final time, prepared to confront whatever evils still lingered. They would reclaim their space. Mia's brilliance would not dim in the shadows. In that moment of triumph mixed with terror, she whispered to herself, fierce and full of intent, "You won, take my daughter." And as they stepped into the light, Emily knew they were just beginning their fight against whatever might come next. Life had weighed heavy on them, but together they would carry the light. Something monumental was on the horizon, and they wouldn't back down, completely immersed in their triumph. Emily turned to Mia, who looked up at her, wonder mixing with hope. "See, Mommy? We can do it." "Yes, baby. Our story is just starting now." And as the door closed behind them, the sound lingering in echoes, but the light before them felt as bold as they were, filled with dreams, whispers of achievements yet unwritten. The future awaited, radiant and rich with possibilities. Now, as this incredible story wraps up, you need to subscribe immediately to catch what's next and never miss out on the exclusive adventures lined up for you. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm so we can grow this awesome community together. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this heart-pounding ending. I want to hear how you felt. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. They can't miss out on this journey. Don't wait even one more second. Your support is everything to me, and it helps us create more unforgettable stories like this one.